to start off with, I just want you guys to kind of introduce yourself and where you're coming from and how you kind of got started.
Whew. How much time do we have?
Now.
Hi guys, I'm Jake Stewart. I'm with Cargo Agency right now. I'm a producer there, but I'm also their in-house casting director. I came from 10 years in New York and 2 years in LA making coffee for important people. 10 years in New York. In LA, I worked for Disney in post-production. Got out there and realized that they needed a lot more people behind the camera than they do in front of the camera. And then when I went to New York, I got into reality TV. So I was casting for MTV and VH1 and helping produce the creative storylines for trashy reality shows like Love and Hip Hop and Black Ink Crew. I'm sorry, I didn't look at you for a reason. That was awful. Black Ink Crew and a bunch of shows about tattoos, Ink Master and Tattoo Girls for TLC. But it was casting. It was finding great stories and finding people that could tell them and speak somewhat eloquently on camera. We could always edit around the idiots. And then got into the agency world, worked for Peloton in New York. And then when the pandemic hit, my wife said, I want to leave New York City and moved down here to work with Cargo Agency and now I cast commercials. But I'm also helping these lovely people cast some indie films here in town.
He's talking about me.
Mark my words. And I'm a recovering actor. I went to school for that and realized that nobody needs more white dudes acting ever. There's plenty of us out there. And happy to but using that learning and that experience in casting, I think is really always informed what I do and understanding when people are full of crap or if they can really come to life in front of the camera. And all those things that we'll talk about this, all those things that wish we had known as an actor, we can now bring to the room as a casting director to help the director choose who they really should work with. And teaching those kids I'm teaching at a college soon. What we can do to cast as many local South Carolina actors as possible, because we hate flying people in.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's me, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
I'll pass it on.
Thanks.
Age before beauty.
My name is Ashley Crane. I'm an actress. I've been acting since I was a kid. And I worked here, I grew up acting. I went down to school in Florida where I continued acting, and then I came back here and I acted some more, and I started teaching a little bit because there was a need for screen acting classes in Spartanburg. So I started teaching those, and I really enjoyed it. And then I had an opportunity to go up to New York, so I did that for a while. I enjoyed that a lot, and I continued acting up there, and as a starving artist. The studio that I was taking classes for allowed me to do a work exchange, and so I started working for them, and next thing I knew, I was also teaching classes for them as well. So I just continued teaching, and I really enjoyed it, and I started coaching and doing a lot of private coaching, and it was just a wonderful thing. So I also started working for a lady named Denise Simon, and she works with children, professional children. And so I was her assistant, and then I ended up teaching classes on my own for her as well. And she is incredible. So all of her students were working mostly in theater, so they did a lot of Broadway and things like that. And they were trying to transition into film and TV. So we worked a lot on translating your theater skills to on screen and on camera. So that was a blast. I really enjoyed working for them. And then COVID hit, and there was some stuff going on. So I was like, maybe I'll just come back to South Carolina. So I did, and since then I've continued acting and coaching and writing, and I've started doing some filmmaking again, which I hadn't done since college, and it's just been a great thing. And then I met Rhodes and all of you lovely people, and here we are.
Very cool. Hi guys, my name is Amy. Amy Brower. I have a casting agency in Columbia, but I work in not so much Greenville, maybe more, but a lot in Columbia, and I do Charlotte and Georgia as well. I started out as an actor totally by accident, actually at Anderson University, which is like a stone's throw from here. So I got drafted into the theater program and kind of fell in love with the whole process. So I didn't get to really get my feet wet in production until after college, where I was working in TV production, making really crappy local commercials for the ABC affiliate that was in Columbia. So I learned the hard way of like what not to do. But I was really young, and that's what, you just try stuff. And then I got to work with some, like those no budget, just super passionate, cool projects where I got to learn how to, just be on set. And so I was really taught by other film students, and I got to explore this whole other world of filmmaking. And then my career makes no sense. So I did a bunch of other stuff, worked in theater again for a long time. I did production design, and I did costuming, and still some more acting. And anyway, I eventually found myself doing producing, specifically for some of my friends that worked in agencies. So as a producer, part of my job was casting. And then the more I started doing that, I realized that there was really just not a lot of resources where I live for people to meet actors. And I had all these relationships with a lot of theaters in town. So I just had this network of people that I could pull from. And then that kind of developed into this thing where I realized I'd outgrown the people I knew, and I needed to get organized. And then I had a lot of really cool opportunities since then, where I work with like the top 10 agencies in South Carolina now that are, they're part of my, people that I work with, and just trying to fill in that gap, really connecting, in some cases, new talent that have very little experience, and giving them their first real job. And then also being able to provide these agencies and these productions with talent that fit the scope and the budget and everything that they needed, because as we know, budget is important. So Broward Casting's only been official for a couple of years, but I've been doing casting and acting and producing and directing for probably 10 years now. So, but I'm really happy to be here and see some new faces, and I feel like it's just the total new kid, but I'm really thankful that I get to be included today.
I started theater in high school and then ended up being a professional stuntman for 7 years. And once I broke all my bones, filling in for Jackie Chan, I had to call it quits.
And he does comedy too, so that's good.
Yeah. Stand up.
No,
comedy.
I have done a few acting roles on accident. I think.
How usually
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's it.
Yeah.
So,
I have some stuff. I've prepared some slides. This is really more for me, so I don't get totally derailed. And you guys feel free to jump in. Y'all feel free to ask questions. But I figured I wanted to give you guys some practical stuff depending on what side of the table you're on, whether you're talent, whether you're, casting these projects. In fact, can I kind of get a show of hands and who's an actor in the room? I'm just curious. Oh, we got some talent in the room. What's up? Any directors, producers? Yeah, there we go. Voiceover artists. I'm trying to think. Hey, there we go. Look at that. This is cool. Anybody else I missed? I don't know. So this is, so those of you that are producers and directors, what kind of projects do you guys work on mostly? What keeps you busy?
Well, we're doing short film.
Oh, cool. So narrative projects.
I wouldn't say
Maybe.
narrative.
Not
They're
me on
actually film, they're just short.
Sure.
They're like dramatic, what would you call it? Lifetime films right now? Short Lifetime.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. So
No,
very
I was
character driven, just
Yes.
you gotta have range and stuff. Okay, cool.
Definitely.
Any commercials or industrials? You guys,
Yeah.
that's
commercials.
bread and butter for most of my clients. So there's a lot of different rules and things that apply elsewhere. So fair warning, there's a lot of movie quotes in my thing. So I just wanted, this is me saying hello but we already did that. So moving on. So those of you that produce stuff, where are you guys finding your talent? So this would be really for you guys.
I'm brand new here.
Yeah.
So
Welcome.
I just had to do a casting call because I first did a stage play in November and I didn't know anybody. So I actually had to do a casting call.
Just open. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
It's weird talking hi strangers, be in my project.
yes.
Yeah.
What play
a
was
lot-
it?
Yeah.
It was called New Pair of Shoes. It was original.
Oh,
That's
okay.
amazing.
Cool. Congratulations.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
they had to take a
And a
risk.
playwright.
That I know it's really cool. Yeah. Anybody else where do y'all find your people? I mean, in some cases.
Dunbar.
Yeah.
Film bar.
Craigslist. No, seriously, I'm just wondering, like, how do you find people?
Well, kind of what you had put
Yeah.
up there, your personal network. Like,
Yeah, because you're an actor, so you're on set all the time.
Yeah,
and like
so like I network with everyone, and then
that's right.
like the people here, like I've gotten good with everyone around this area. So like when I am helping produce stuff, like if I have someone in mind, like I reach out to them, so that
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier. But
It
then
sure
of
does.
course, like people that are your friends, there's like a gray area there where it's
It
like
is.
it's almost like they think it's your decision, and at the same time there's other people.
I have a whole thing about that, so that's like a real problem. So yeah, like, but pulling from your personal network, pulling from Facebook groups like this group, there's a lot of nice things about that because you can kind of vet people a little bit, and there's a sense of like camaraderie and maybe some trust there, some social equity. Has anybody used like a casting site like Actors Access or Backstage or anything like that? Yeah, it's
terrible. It's terrible.
yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. I don't recommend starting there. And then there's, casting through an agency or a casting director. Do you guys know the difference between like a talent agent versus a casting director?
No.
So I'm a casting director. I'm not a talent agent, and I have people all the time say, "Can I sign with your agency?" I was like, it's not quite like that. So an agency, I guess in like the most basic terms, the casting director works for you, the director. Their job is to support your job and really kind of do that pre-vetting, setting you up as a director and setting up the talent for success. So it's more targeted, it's more specific. It's so they work for the production. For me, I'm hired by the agency to find actors for them. A talent agent is really more working for their talent. So they're trying to throw as many jobs and submit you for as many stuff because that's how they get paid, is if they're talent books. So and so casting directors, it's nice to have a buffer sometimes, especially when you are friends with a lot of your network. You have that person that gets to be the bad guy in some cases, or maybe the good guy, and kind of broach that subject. So anyway, that's a little something about that. Any questions about? I'm just gonna do overview, then we'll talk. We're keeping it chill. I love this quote. I do not always know what I want, but I do know what I don't want. Enter Backstage or Actors Access. It can be really tricky as a director, especially when you're writing your own stuff, to not get super specific about what you need for a story. But the things you have to know your scope. You have to know, is this a short? Is this a feature? What is my budget? Where am I, just what does that look like? And then there's your script. And then anything casting wise is going to be based on that script. So that's just like the basic stuff. So that we know, and that is kind of, it's pretty clear cut. But let's see, a lot of movie quotes, guys, I'm telling you. But whenever you're doing a casting call of any kind and you're reaching out beyond your network, as important as that is, you have to get organized, even if it's just have an official email address where people are going to communicate with you. And then with casting a wider net, I mean, really, get comfortable talking to people you don't know. Get comfortable putting yourself out there, even if it's like your first project. Just get comfortable, presenting yourself in a professional way, because that builds a lot of equity. And in some cases, when you're asking people to work for free, if you have something to offer them and you have that leadership there and that establishment of trust, they will show up. But it takes work to do that.
Build your network on there. Do you know any good networking groups people could be a part of?
Yeah, so I heard about this one in Greenville. That's really cool. Really cool. Highly recommended. So keep showing up to these guys, because it's investing in those relationships that is going to take you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you had mentioned essentially bringing value when you're looking for someone to work for you for free, essentially.
Yes.
What kind of value could a producer bring to an actor or actress?
Absolutely.
In that exchange?
So it depends on two things. It depends on what kind of room you're making for really green people. Because if someone's new but they're passionate, they just want experience. So that there's that person. Then there's the person that they've done stuff, you've seen them and stuff, they're awesome, like they get paid to do this sometimes. So those people are looking for material that is exciting, challenging, and then they have a reel or a clip. So you got to be able to present. A really good way to sell yourself is to be like, hey, here's a clip of this thing I just worked on, this really sexy clip. And then they're like, that would look amazing on this reel, or I haven't played that character before. So you really kind of have to figure out their why. And you'd be surprised. I mean, I've seen some named people do stuff for nothing because they just fall madly in love with the character. So that's going to come up on this slide here.
Do you guys have anything to add?
Oh yeah, you guys can jump at any time. But that's a really good question. But you really got to figure out their why, know their work, do your research, watch their reel. If you need to, write something for them, or just and then just find a way to. In some case, you flatter them into your project and be like, listen, man, no one else can play this besides you. Let me just read the script. And then in some cases, and I've totally pulled this card, offer them a producer credit. Because some actors really want to transition into that, but you just got to figure out what makes them tick.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a great question.
In general, I want to go back to like why casting or why a casting director.
Yes.
Why do we exist?
Yes.
For my agency, I'm in-house. I do a lot of other things, but I'm also sorting through headshots and voiceover. I'm casting for commercials. But why would you hire her agency to cast your film? We have a roster of people we know in town or in the Atlanta area that we've worked with before or have auditioned with us before, and we want to get them jobs. So it's the not only like being able to sort through 4,000 headshots for you and pick the people that are relevant to your project, are the right type and age and experience for your project. Whether it's non-union or union, obviously most of us in this film bar are going to be non-union. So the postings that we make on Actors Access, I don't really use Backstage that much, but the descriptions I use, go on Actors Access, and a bazillion people will send me headshots, and I'm not going to show every single one of those to the director or the producer. I'm going to cull the herd. I have to cull it down to the people that, and it's things you can't control. It's, I need blue eyes instead of brown. I need bearded white guy number 7. It is, there's so many specific things that we can cull for you and then present to you. Here are the 20 best people, 25 best people, or 3 best people, whatever you want us to do. We are flexible in terms of what we present to you, the client. And in terms of commercials, a lot of what we work with is non-speaking roles. So a lot of it is about look and diversity, which is obviously a big word in the industry. So, again, submit to everything you see, because you just don't know. They might say, I need this exact type today, and it might be you. So, and like she's going to go over later, it is so ancillary, all the specific things a client might ask me for a smiling, happy person holding a laptop. They might say, you know what, I've really got to have an African-American male with a gray beard and glasses. Yeah. Okay, so, we'll go into other things about headshots, but that's so don't, important. Look for things in your age group, in your type, and just submit. Yeah. The most successful actor I know does 300 self-tapes a year, and he books like 5 roles. But he was just in a film on Apple Plus. So it's about numbers. Yeah. But anyway, as a director, as a producer, as a filmmaker, this is why you hire us, is so we can cull that herd for you, and you're not just asking your friends to be in your projects.
Yeah, and we can also negotiate and make those connections if, because I might know somebody that's really good and I know how to get to that person. Yeah. And the negotiating is always important, because that's, I'd love to hear.
Actually, on the acting side of things, like, what would be something you would look for?
Yeah, well, and to connect these two things, I do want to say what Dom was saying, or not, you're not Dom, you're Amy. No, yeah, what Amy was saying about, when they want to see what you've done. So if you're looking for an actor who might be working for free, and they ask you, hey, this is an interesting project. Can I see your work? Who's going to be the DP? That's a question they're going to ask. They're always going to ask if they know what they're doing, because they want to know that their face is they're going to look good. And so one thing that I've noticed, and a lot of actor friends and I have noticed, is people start getting a little upset when you ask them questions like that. Don't be upset about it. They just want to know that you're legit. It's a scary thing to show up on set and be vulnerable and have somebody tell you what you should wear and how you should look and how you should act, and to nitpick all of your creative choices. So just be like flexible and answer their questions as professionally as you can, because nothing's more off-putting than you being like, well, it's legit. Well, I don't know. Who are you? So just just try to be as like open and honest and sharing and caring and giving as you can, because it's frustrating for everybody involved.
100%.
But what were you saying?
On the actor side of things,
Oh, yeah.
what are you looking for, like when you're looking at
Projects?
Like, what do you want to work on?
Oh yeah. When I'm looking at breakdowns, I always look to see if I know anybody, like the casting people, who the director is, and then I Google to see what they've been working on and what their projects look like. I always look for pay, not that it has to be paid, but just if it's like, that's like a really big red flag if it's like unpaid. And they're like, oh, it'll be on your reel, but then you go and they're not super legit, and I don't know, then that's kind of a red flag for me. Where it is, like, how far am I have like in my brain, like how far I'm willing to drive for how much money.
Yeah, and guys, I mean, it can be like $50. Like, it doesn't have to be $5,000.
Right,
like,
yeah.
It's just something that says, I appreciate you. This is our agreement. Please show up. And usually if there's some dollars assigned, it says it's something. It's like, it's something.
And
Passion.
then I'm sorry.
You made the statement super legit. What makes a film company legitimate in your view?
I'm so glad you asked, because this was my next point.
Yes.
If on the breakdown, if there's too much information, like you feel like you need to tell me the entire story, I feel like you're overcompensating. This is just my feelings. I'm not like, I don't want to speak for everyone,
you're right.
but I feel like you're overcompensating. I don't need to know the whole thing.
Yeah.
So like, a professional can give like a 1 to 2 sentence log line. That should just be what's on there. And then if there's like 7 paragraphs for each character, too much information. I just need to know, like, I just need the bullet points of like who I would be auditioning for.
Also, don't give away your IP. Like,
Yeah.
don't give away the entire story to your movie to everyone who has actors access, because somebody might go, oh, that is a good film idea. Let's go make it. So yeah, don't give away your whole story on your on your posts as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then for the individual characters, if there's too much information, if there's no information, that's also weird and creepy and strange.
Or if there's only a physical description, huge red flag, because so many times in a script, those physical characteristics about how long their hair is or what color their eyes or how tall they are, or even what color skin they have, is not in the script. You're just reading the director's vision, but what ends up happening is that you miss so many opportunities for so many amazing actors.
Sure.
So I think the people that really struggle with this are the writer-directors, because they've dreamed it in their head so many times.
Yes.
But
and it tells me that you're probably not going to be willing to work with me. And respect other people's creative choices.
Exactly,
when you're on set.
because as an actor, your job is to present your creative interpretation, and your job as a director is to cast the right person, not micromanage every second of their performance, which is another thing. So there's this is that asterisk here about this is what
Join us for the directing class.
Hey, no, but this should be in your casting call. So project details, you got to have, and there's so many examples online, you guys, of like a solid casting call. But have the project details: when, where, how many days, all that stuff. Character descriptions. So this is, so the breakdown should describe the role, not the actor in your mind playing that role. Yeah. So instead of saying must be over 6'3", this intimidating, find words that that give you a vibe. So it's a type versus a physical description. This is so important. And then what's also awesome about that is that you might get a submission from someone that is totally wrong in your mind for the lead, but there's another role that you have and you're like, oh my God, this guy would be amazing for this. So cast a wide net and then just nurture those relationships and call them back for other stuff.
Yeah.
And then about attracting top-notch talent. If you have audition details, submission instructions. Don't send me a DM. None of that stuff. There needs to be an email, this in the subject line. What role are you, auditioning for? Talk about compensation. Talk about usage. These are things that those top-notch, experienced actors will look for, and they will overlook your casting call if those are not in there.
If
Can
this
I
stuff
ask, sorry,
100%.
sorry, can I ask Amy and Jake, so say you guys post a breakdown, because I know different casting directors,
Yeah.
they have, everyone's different, I guess, the way they work. If you post like a mom role, a daughter who's in like my age, you probably already know where I'm going with this. Or do you guys get annoyed with people submitting for each role separately, or like usually when I submit like for a mom role, I'm like, hey, also like if you'd like me to audition for the daughter role or the neighbor as well, or do you like take separate submissions? Does that make sense?
I'm
Does
pretty
that matter?
flexible personally, unless I make a note in there. I'm okay, because usually I'm not going through 4,000 headshots. I've got a more like a tighter pool.
Yeah.
So, but as long as the information's in there, I'm okay. Typically, but I could be.
It's one less click if you apply for multiple roles,
And
because
this
I'll
is
see your headshot in the other breakdown.
Yeah.
But if I go, oh well, actually she'd be right for the daughter, I have to click
Yeah.
on you. I have to go move to daughter.
Yeah.
So I don't mind if you submit, as long as it's within your like type, age group, and
Right.
both those roles might fit. Then yeah, send it in for both.
Don't ignore the breakdown, because then that's
Yeah.
awkward.
Because
But
there's been
like,
breakdowns where I've seen like 5 or 6 different roles, and I'm like,
oh,
this is on like feature film.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, but like, like I've submitted for 2, and then I'm like, well, I feel like if they knew that they wanted me for a different, like I don't want to keep.
yeah.
If you stick out, they'll move you.
Yeah.
But yeah, not
I do
a
put
bad thing to
different headshots.
submit
Yeah,
for 2.
it's not a bad thing. I think, but I think for those bigger
Good question.
castings, it might be easier, because sometimes those are sorted based on some different keywords. So that's a different thing. I do most of my stuff through email. But yeah, but this is the stuff that makes you look super legit. If you have this in there and you got a really nice description, and you talk about relationships between this character and this character. Oh, also, can we do a side note about, I've seen these breakdowns which talks about, gives me a description about like, mom just lost her daughter to cancer, must be able to show extreme emotions of sadness and anguish. I was like, so you mean she needs to be an actor? So please, if you're not sure if they can act, give them a side and then let them show you that they can act. That's part 2.
Yeah.
But and then some people might think they can do it and they can't. So, that's just a little thing that I've seen, because I know where they're coming from, but it just doesn't send the right message. These are just some talking points for us to talk about.
One thing to go back on that one, because
Yes,
we're
please.
dealing with
Let's
this right
go
now,
back.
is
Let's go back.
when you're posting, always post if there's nudity or if there's simulated sex or if there's violence.
Mhm.
Always post warnings like that on your breakdowns.
Yeah.
And what you're doing on set to make that comfortable
that
for
comfortable.
people. So is there going to be an intimacy coordinator?
Mm-hmm.
What other things are going on?
Yeah. Oh, speaking on that point, if there is any, and then this is only, I don't know if this applies to anybody, but there was a situation that I ran into where the writer-director was also starring in his project and was casting his own love interest in the project. You guys,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
you guys, it happens, even like big budget movies, it happens, but you have to get somebody else on board to be that third party.
Right.
You have to. It's just like let's just keep it above board, you guys,
Tarantino and Selma Hayek's feet, and it was
Uh,
he cast himself.
you know what I mean? Like,
It was
it's just,
weird.
yeah, this isn't Hollywood. Let's keep it, so be careful about that. But just keep an open mind with that stuff. I mean, keep an open mind with all of it. And I tend to cast a pretty wide net, because I always just find so many amazing people that might not be right for that project, but I use them for something else. So
Is it okay to include stuff like lookbook ideas or kind of what you're looking for, images of the typecast, or also even clips of like this type of feel from like this movie? Watch this scene. This is kind of like what we're going for. Or is that too much directing right up front?
I feel like as long as you know what you need, I wouldn't. I would use that maybe for your team that's helping you, develop it. I wouldn't throw it out there, because actors are going to judge themselves against that, and you're going to miss people. And you might also be surprised, you know, like it's like you might meet someone and go, oh my gosh, this is not at all what I
Never thought
envisioned,
of
but their
that.
audition just blew my socks off.
Mhm.
So I think as long as you know the vision, that's what's important. And you can do that, but it's just going to limit the kind of feedback you get.
I'll tell you as a coach, and I've studied with lots of coaches and heard lots of people tell people this, and I've done lots of casting director workshops, and they're always like, you as the actor, you know what the director needs. The director doesn't know what they need, you know what they need. And that's obviously a self-confidence thing to
It
teach you how to, but you know, if you're really good at your job and you're really good at, as an actor, at breaking down your script and reading between the lines, and if the script is good, and if you as the director, your work speaks, then the actor, it should be easy for the actor to come in and say, hey, this is my version of this. I hope you like it. If you don't, we understand, and
Yeah.
we hope you find somebody else. So
The best compliment I've ever gotten as an actor was a director telling me that was better than I thought it could be in my head. It, like you found something that I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, and honestly, his script wasn't that great. And I just tried to play with it because I was like, I'm going to make an interesting choice because
yeah,
I wanted to, you know, bring my perspective to that thing. So
yeah,
it was so awesome.
yeah. What's up?
No, what I was gonna say is that goes for us voice actors as well. And I was just talking to Mike about this, earlier, is that oftentimes directors don't, and no offense, but oftentimes, especially when it comes to directors are not voice actors. So they have a vision in their mind of what they want, but very rarely do they have the vocabulary to articulate what they want. And you will get a lot of antonyms. When I was telling Mike, a certain example, like we want it soft but really loud,
Every day.
Sean, you actually want to step up for a sec because Ian Russell was going to come and talk for a second about
Oh, I know Ian.
casting
Welcome.
or voiceover, which is a little bit different.
Right.
So if you wanted to say a few words on
Yeah. So like I said, I've experienced that myself, where I'm getting a direction. I'm saying to myself, what is going on here? So, but like I said, they have it in their mind, but they don't know how to articulate it. So as an actor, as a voice actor, this is what I do. I will look at their direction, I will read their direction, and I'll use it as more of a guide. But then I'm going to first and foremost, I'm looking at the company. What does this company do? And then I'm looking at the script, and I'm seeing, and I'm saying to myself, okay, who is speaking in this script for this company? And then I will read it the way it naturally would seem. And a lot of times, like you would, I think you had even said that they, they may come back and say, yeah, that's, and it's like zero of what they directed you on. But then there's other times where you'll get these directors where, you'll put your own interpretation on it, and then they'll come back and they'll say, no, that's not really what I want, and then you just do it the crazy way that they put it, and then, like, hey, that was great, and you're just going, okay, so, but for the most part, I mean, that's, I was glad that you said that, because like I said, that goes the same for us as well. And that only comes with time, it only comes with experience, but I would say that most people, even if they're new to voice acting, most people, because you're a human being, and because you have emotions, because you have feelings, you can understand that if this company is a funeral home, and the script is talking about, the script is coming from the funeral, home director, it's not going to be happy, with a bunch of bells and whistles. You know what I mean? So you just, is a trick that I don't want to take up too much more time, but there's a trick that I've learned, and it's called it's called springboarding. And what I'll do is, have you heard of that? You heard of springboarding? Yeah. And I love that. You'll look at the script, and like I said, if it's a funeral home, first thing I do, okay, put my mental, somebody in my family or somebody, a loved one that I know that has passed away, and I'll say, oh man, I hate when that happened to them, and then go into the script, and 9 times out of 10, the directors love it.
if it does defer, could you briefly explain the casting process for voice actors? Is that any different than what they've said so far?
Say that again.
The casting process for voice actors, is that any different than what they've kind of talked about so far?
Honestly,
Where are you finding your auditions and stuff like that?
well, see, I don't really do a whole lot of auditions.
Yeah.
No, for all the work that I've done, I've only done about 5 auditions, all the stuff that I've done. So most of my stuff comes from either direct marketing. I am part of a couple of talent rosters that send me stuff, and then like my social media. That's where I'm getting, I get a lot of my stuff from, and like I said, and also networking, networking groups as well. But for the auditions that I have done, the client heard my demo, and they will sometimes, that's another thing that they will do, right? They will say, well, I want it to sound like this commercial you did on your demo. Give me that sound, give me that feel. And then sometimes they tell you nothing. They just send you a script.
So, this is a client bashing session here, but having worked with a lot of like chief marketing officers for, banks or tech companies, they are not actors. They are not voiceover people. And even as a director, it's the point is, you are the voiceover artist. You've done a bazillion auditions. You know how to put the right emphasis on the right syllable. Like, trust yourself. Directors, trust your actors, because again, like if you're directing, you might do a couple of short films a year, but hopefully the actors that are auditioning for you are doing 300 self-tapes a year. And it's just about numbers, like churn and burn the auditions out so that you are a quick study. You can make changes on the fly as a voiceover artist. But again, like it's the client doesn't really know what they want, because they're sitting all day returning emails and sitting on Zoom calls and talking about color palettes of their marketing campaign. They're not a voiceover person. And they might come in with a note or two for when we're on a session, but I know that I've given them a professional voiceover actor who can make a little bit of an adjustment or make a change in tone. But again, like I cast people that have shown the professionalism in the audition and in the submission they sent to me, that like they're going to get what the client needs. And sometimes the client has no idea what they need.
That's right.
Yeah.
If I might jump on that one there,
Yeah.
a lot of times, especially with
Thank you so much.
businesses,
Thanks, Sean.
they for some reason they don't know the difference. I really wish they did. They don't know the difference between a voice artist and an announcer. That's one of the ones that I've dealt with a few times, where like voice actors were trained to be conversational, make it sound like they're just talking, but they specifically want you to be up there and talk as if you are addressing an entire audience for a speech.
Broadcast.
Yes.
I want you to be a broadcaster.
Well, while Amy's pulling this up, I wanted to add 2 things. If you're going to be posting stuff on social media, be as professional about it as you can. There's nothing wrong with that. I've booked some really awesome, legit work on social media, and it's been great. But I'm always looking, like, if you have misspellings or any sort of errors, I'm not obvious red flag. I'm sorry to be judgmental, but it just means that if you're not putting your thoughtfulness in your post, then what sort of project are you going to end up with? If you're giving too much information, if you're not giving enough information, if it's unpaid, go ahead and just say that. There's nothing wrong with that. If your profile is not linked to a real profile, or if I can't find out any information about you, those are all red flags. So just be really cautious when posting on social media. And be really polite in comments. I've seen people asking questions in the comments, and then the original poster is really rude back. So there's nothing wrong with using social media as a casting platform. Just be really polite and professional.
And that's what you're moving into here with.
That's what we're moving in here.
Perfect.
Yes. Yo, Adrian. Casting calls. We've talked about this stuff a little bit, about the stuff that needs to be in there. Next page. A lot of this is for actors, and also we're talking about terminology, for everybody involved. I mean, hopefully these words look familiar, guys. Headshots, resumes, sides, and slating, auditions. So, self-tape, that's really what everyone's doing nowadays. Very few in-person auditions. It's tough to get people in person in the room. So I would save that for maybe like chemistry reads, if that's what you need to do, or a callback. I would not have an open casting call because that's just tough. People have jobs, they have families. It's tough to work around that. So if you're open to working with new talent and you're looking for that diamond in a rough, you know, make resumes and all that stuff, optional, but have sides ready. Have sides, which is just it doesn't even have to be, I know people are protective of their material and that's okay. But this is going to be different for commercial versus, more narrative projects, but have a clip or a monologue or a scene or something from that character that you can hand off to this actor and have them give it back to you. And you can see, can they act and do they fit this role? And you can even use it for a role that you're not even thinking them for. It's for something else, but just as a gauge to see their ability, and because they might blow you out of the water. It might be their first film ever and they're amazing and you're like, whoa.
Does everyone know what those are?
Yeah, any terminology. No, I'm happy to talk through it. Headshots don't have to be professional, you guys. I think once you reach a certain level, if you're an actor who's done a lot of, local stuff and like some indie stuff, and you want to book an agent or you want to do something bigger, invest in those headshots because, people won't even look at your headshot if it looks like that this is your first project.
How often do you do headshots?
How often does your look change?
Mm-hmm.
Look like your headshot. So, and it's not a beauty shot. Oh my gosh, you guys, the filters.
The glamour.
Don't send me that. You're beautiful just the way you are. People filter their pictures all the time and it just, it doesn't.
Don't use Instagram filters.
No, I just be your lighting goes a long way. If you wanted to soften or do the best version of you, good lighting, but don't do a filter, you guys. Because we love you just the way you are.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to have professional headshots.
Well, it depends on what you're going for. We love professional headshots. We love it. But depending on, it should reflect where you are in your career. So if you're new and this is like you haven't done a lot of stuff, a really good, iPhones are amazing now. Get a friend, go outside, don't do a car selfie. I get those a lot. They're okay, but they're not great. It just limits on so just personal experience. If I do a casting call and I have my principal, I have my featured non-speaking, and then I have my background, okay? If you send me a car selfie, you're going to background. I'm not casting you as a principal. Yeah. It will not happen. The principal, I look for the most professional headshot in the stack, and that's who I'm going to ask for a self-tape because I say this person has worked, they know what's up. I don't have to teach them how to be an actor. They know this. If it's just a decent picture outside against a brick wall, their mom took it, I might ask them for a self-tape if I really like their look. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do this. But that tells us a lot. It tells, people who are casting where you are in your experience level. And it's not,
I think that you can have cheap headshots that look really good. Like if you have a friend who's a photographer or whatever, there are things that and I'll let you guys kind of talk to this, but solid colors, no distractions. You're the most important thing in the photo.
Absolutely.
No jewelry, no bows, no hats, nothing, no sunglasses,
no
blank backgrounds, good lighting.
All the yes, okay.
Yeah,
we could talk.
Because you could
headshots.
fake it
talk
till
this
you
all
make
the
it.
time,
You
but
can fake it.
you don't have to spend $6,000. They just need to look good.
Yeah, plain background for the first thing you submit, because we are looking at 5 per line just typing out. We're just typing out. So I don't want to see a cool car behind you. I don't want to see a tree. I don't want to see a crazy hat or even a crazy necklace.
Or your bed. I don't want to see the pillow on your bed. I don't want bed
are
selfies.
just so distracting. But I will say solid background with glasses and without is so important because I've cast nerds so many times on commercials, and you know what? I click through some headshots and I see one with glasses, and I'm like, yeah, he could play a nerd, and it's so stereotypical, but it's just about the capital D diversity of when you're looking for people in a commercial type, and you need the other person in the Geico ad. So like,
Yeah.
you know, just distracting things are one thing, but just to have one headshot with some glasses. But yeah, no distracting backgrounds.
Yeah.
And again, it does reflect where you are in your
It
career.
does, yeah.
I prefer no car selfies. If
I
you're
know,
not
I
taking
know.
your acting seriously, then I can't present you professionally to a client.
Yeah.
So depending on the
Yeah.
project. Now, if we're doing a weekend 24-hour film festival,
Oh, yeah.
I don't care what your headshot
That's
is.
right. It depends.
Just
on
show
what-
up and drink beer. Like,
It's like, please show up.
we're just like having a good time. But yeah, if you want to be in a commercial
Yeah.
that's going to cost me $20,000 a day,
Yeah.
then I need to present a professional headshot to the client that they sign off on.
Yeah.
And a selfie in your car is not going to
Yeah,
do it.
because we're working for the client. So it's one thing if I'm casting, I know my people and I can pull from what I have. But if I have to sell you, if I have to pitch you to my producer and they're like, why isn't he wearing a shirt? Like, it's really uncomfortable. You guys, if you can put it on Tinder, it probably shouldn't be your headshot.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you right now.
That's funny.
So, just you are, and you're not selling. Oh, by the way, quick little thing. If you're doing a commercial, please smile in your picture. Because I get these really awesome, intense, like dramatic headshots, and I'm like, this person can't sell any. I'm scared. This person's intense, and it's a beautiful headshot, but I'm like, it's not what we're casting for. So just try to have, if you're an actor and you're investing in headshots, or you're trying to get it done, smiling commercial. You can trust me. I'm your best friend.
Good teeth. Show me that you have good teeth.
You know, and if you don't, it's okay. But just tell us. Like,
Yeah,
we need
just
to
tell
know.
us.
So smile.
I might be casting somebody with bad teeth.
Right, and then
In which case you're
and,
in.
and then you can have a dramatic one, you know. But please have, like, for me, I do so many commercials. That's, you know, so many commercials.
How
It
many
just
poses do you suggest one to send? You doing a single pose or you want a?
Well, we see the initial default photo.
yeah, just
And then
just
if we
here.
like it, we'll sometimes
down.
yeah, exactly that one.
Sit down.
There's this girl in Florida that every time she submits to me, I'm like,
Yeah.
which lingerie picture am I going to get this
Yeah.
time?
No, and I don't recommend posy stuff because if it's all like that's more for like catalog. Like, I'm selling clothing. I just want to see you. I just want to see your face, you know. And maybe if we want to do a 3/4 and a full body, that's more
Yeah.
if we're doing, you know, background stuff. Very good tool for that. But yeah, posing is. I'd say it's all here. It's all
Right,
eyes.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
All here, the
Very-
poses, I mean, the
Yeah, I've
variations
seen the
of
best ones I've seen are like
headshots.
default headshot,
Yeah.
default commercial, default film, serious,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
smiling. You know, smiling, not smiling, with glasses, without.
Yeah.
And then, you know, for some people it's appropriate, but for guys, if you're a bodybuilder, have a shirtless photo because sometimes we are casting, you know,
Yeah.
for buff dudes. But not everyone needs to have a shirtless photo.
No, not.
But you know, like I usually like if they have 6 or 7 professional.
Dad bods?
Well, yeah, I'm not casting myself. If they have 7 like options and they're all professionally done, I know that they've invested the amount of time and energy, even if they had their friend take it,
That's right.
to be a professional submission.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just as you as a director and a producer are presenting yourself in a professional light to this actor, they are going to tell you a lot about where they are and how well they take direction by simply how they title their email or how good they are at getting back to you and, you know, giving you what you need to put this together. And it's going to be different for commercial versus industrial versus film versus voiceover. It's going to be different. So just be aware of that. You know, anything
And
else?
then as an actor, I was gonna add, when I first started out and I started doing a lot of self-tapes, it was really stressful when there weren't very specific audition instructions. I don't know how you want me to label my tapes. I don't know if you want my slate at the beginning or at the end. I don't know if you want it in a separate file. Some people are really specific. They're like, you need to label it last name, first name, / whatever. And then some people give no information. So if you're going to give no information, then just know that you're going to get what I think that you should get. And I hope that you're okay with that. And I'm going to do my best and be really professional about it. And I'll probably just put it in one clip because that's easiest. But just be realistic with your expectations of what you want, how you want your clips ordered and what you want your slates to be. But then also, if you're going to not give any information, then just be okay with what you
Absolutely.
get from people.
Yeah. And in some cases, like you might book off of a demo reel. And I mean, I've been booked that way. That's really cool. It doesn't always happen that way. in that case, I definitely recommend an interview or some other follow up just to make sure that they're cool and vibe check with people because it's really important. That's also part of our job is we need to make sure that people are going to be cool when they show up. Honestly, guys, for the directors in the room, the best gift you can give your actors is to take an acting class and read some acting books and learn their language. Because when it comes down to the day where we're making the thing, there's very little time to rehearse and fix and all that stuff. So communication is just everything. So, obviously we want to set you guys up to win, so actors, you guys are set up for success because, we know you're in the right room, and directors are set up to have a great day on set because you have who you need. But casting directors, we are always rooting for the talent. We are always rooting for you. We are hoping that you're like just that person to make this project work. So, I've been on both sides of that, and it can be really, it feels very personal to put yourself out there as an actor. But don't be afraid of rejection because it's so very, very rarely an issue with your talent. It's just, we need to fit this specific need, it's a specific ingredient that we need. You might have a kick-ass audition, but you look too much like the lead and you don't know who that is, but y'all look like brothers and you're supposed to be somebody else. So there's so many things that are just hard to communicate. So what's up, man?
So we've talked a lot about pre-production, but you get cast. What's the proper follow-up? And then getting into production, like talking about directing actors and actually giving them proper time to get into the space they need to, giving them good direction, not giving them too much. Just go with that, whatever you guys want.
I want to hear what you guys have to say about that.
I will speak to, because I do a lot of logistics producing in terms of like sending out call sheets and ordering lunch. Part of my job as a producer is going to the location and figuring out where can I sequester my actors so that they can focus. So as a film crew, if you're the DP, if you're running sound, some actors are fine with chit chat and having lunch with the crew and hanging out. But if they're doing a scene about, their dead relative and they need to tap into that part of themselves and they need to be sequestered, it's always a good idea as a director and a producer to have a room that the actors can like put themselves in and get into that space and then come out for the scene. And you just kind of have to feel it out with your specific project and with your specific team, but and a room for each actor is always great because some people are different and some people don't always get along, and you might as a director not want them to meet until they are on camera as brother and sister or however their reactions are going to be. So in terms of logistics and just respecting their craft, I think in production it is nice to sequester them and tell your crew, hey, don't talk to them about the drive you came to work with and the traffic you hit. Like just let them let the crew know how much they want to chat. And it's not about them being like rude or snobby or hoity-toity. It's just they may have to put themselves into a headspace that like cannot discuss the Greenville Drive game last night. Anyway.
And you made a good point about logistics. It doesn't matter if you have a $0 production, make a call sheet of some kind.
Yes.
Actors need to know what time they're going to be there, if there's going to be hair and makeup, if they're providing their own wardrobe, if there's going to be a space, have water, have protein on set, take care of them. They're delicate, beautiful creatures. They're not crew. Like, if they're having a bad day, you're screwed. You know what I mean?
Crew.
Like, actors are, I'm telling you, and I guess, so, I mean, just protect them. Be very protective of them.
Ask them ahead of time what their
ask
food
them
allergies are.
questions.
What's their favorite snack?
Feed them. Like, don't shoot for 10 hours and go, oh crap, we didn't feed the
them,
talent. Like, you can't do that. So, I mean,
remember too that you can walk away and get a snack, but sometimes they're stuck where they are on their mark for a really long time.
Absolutely.
So make sure that you're saying, hey, can I bring you a granola bar that you can eat for while we're lighting? I know you can't move, but you can eat.
Yeah. And if you're resetting for lighting and you know it's going to be an hour, tell the talent, hey, we're going to take a break for an hour. You go do you. Like, don't just have them hanging out there like what am I doing? You know, because it's happened to me, and I've seen it happen. So just, especially if you're not paying them $1 million, like take such good care of them, because they will show up for you. Like they will, I mean, if you call them, they will show up for you, and they will do really good work for you if they feel like they are taken care of.
Snacks and Red Bull goes a long way
That's true.
towards keeping your actors happy.
It's such a little. It's just those little things. But yeah, so definitely with communication, don't be like, hey, you booked it, and then nothing for a week. I mean, send them those boards. Send them, you know. I mean, if they need to find their own clothes, really communicate. Be very transparent about where you're coming from. If there's a script change, let them know as soon as possible. You know.
I've had some actors ask for absolutely everything. Like, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this. Send me some actual looks on Pinterest, make a Pinterest board for me. And that was just like, can you not do anything on your own? Or
I would ask them, how comfortable are you taking the lead on this?
Yeah.
Because a lot of actors, again, they're trying to create a whole character. And some, like for me, I was a costumer for 10 years. So I loved picking my own stuff. Like that was exciting for me. And I had opinions about everybody else's look. Right, and that it wasn't I wasn't in my lane, and then, but anyway, so I would definitely, if you're going to entrust them to that, I mean, I would even put a PA in charge of that and say, hey, you're in charge of these looks, figure out their sizes, whatever, and then give them specific pieces to source, unless it's a more collaborative thing. And some actors love to collaborate, and that's cool, but don't put that on someone that's really just not up for it, because it might not be the best setup. I had another point for that one with actors. With communications, call sheets are great. Also, if you're considering somebody, but they haven't booked it because you're looking at 3 other tapes, just tell them, hey, great audition. If you can please hold these dates, you know, just hold these dates for me, and then release them if you go in another direction.
I have a question. Sorry.
Absolutely.
About that. Is how quick have you, when you put someone on hold, where you were like, you release them or you book them? Like, say if the date was like, I don't know, like 3 days away, like, has it been like the day before where you like book them, or like does it just vary, like, depending on?
I mean, if it's a really quick turnaround, a lot of times I'm waiting on client approval. So I don't like it to go longer than 48 hours where I'm leaving them hanging. But I tell people, and if you're an actor and you're on hold and you're not hearing back, then it's a courtesy to say, hey, just so you know, I just auditioned for this other part. Do I need to still hold? I mean, that's okay. But typically the professional thing for the CD is to communicate as quickly as possible, because your time is valuable too. So they shouldn't just have you hanging out for 6 months. Like, I don't know if I got, you know, that's awkward. So, but yeah, there's a lot of ways to kind of take care of actors, but communication is great. Having a safe set is great. You know, pre-blocking. If you haven't worked with an intimacy coordinator, do some research on that and make sure that it's a safe set. Like anything really close and physical should be blocked to like the nth degree, the same way you would like a knife fight. It is the same level of importance. I wish I had that on set when I was on set at, you know, however many years ago, because you just, as an actor, you're like, we'll roll with it. And I'm like, you probably shouldn't. You should talk about it. Yeah, but those are really good questions, Rose.
Have Kindle at dinner.
I like to have my people cast 2 weeks before shoot day at least.
That's really nice.
That is
2 weeks is
prefer.
so nice.
But I've also been in the situation where I put some backup people on hold the day of the shoot in case someone doesn't show.
Yeah.
Or they show up and they're drunk. You don't like. Look, we are dealing with freelance actors out of Atlanta. Not that we don't all love Atlanta, but they're, you know, you just don't. Even if you've done a vibe check, people have gotten to set and you're just like, yeah, this guy's not it. Or I'm just not worried. I'm worried that he didn't get enough sleep last night, and the client is whispering at me, hey, do we have a backup? So it's not a bad idea to, you know, if somebody calls and says, hey, can you be on hold for the next 48 hours? Yeah, leave it open, because we might have to call you and say, can you be on set in an hour?
Yeah.
It happens. You know, it's like theater. If somebody gets sick, there's an understudy. Sometimes you might get the call.
Does anybody have any other questions? Yeah.
Just curious, what's the process like if a producer wants to work with a casting director? Like, how much time should they allocate for like the casting process, and what do like some budgets get you for casting? Like, if you have a low budget, medium budget, or like a high budget?
Well, I know for me, I feel like I'm a little more flexible. At least I have been. Now it just depends on how busy I am. But I've done everything from the bigger budget stuff where I work off of a percentage of the total budget, and this is like thousands of dollars, and I'm working off a percentage of that. But in some cases, I work on a job where they're like, I have $500 and that is it, and I need all of these people, and I know how much time it's going to take me. So in some cases, I'll say, okay, I'm going to take 100 of that and I'm going to put it in your lead actor's pocket, and then I'm going to pay myself the rest of it to find you free talent that will show up and be great. That's how I used to do it when I was juggling a lot of different stuff. Now it's kind of like a case-by-case basis. But there are creative ways in non-union work to find people that will support your project and help you come up with a budget or something that makes sense. I mean, I've had cases with even really small local TV affiliates that are like, we need a guy to, just to wave at the camera for whatever. It's like, okay, this guy will show up for $50, but my rate is this much. And it still fits in their budget. It still fits in the scope of your work. So I think as long as you know your numbers and where you need to be, and you have your breakdowns and you have all that information, then then a CD can give you some insight on that and possibly find something.
What's a respectable number?
It depends. It depends on the CD. In some cases, I've taken a massive pay cut because I love the project. I just love the project, and I'm like, or it's a phone call. I'm like, I know your guy. He's in my book. Here you go, and I just hand an actor over. So if I know my time is going to be a couple hours just to build that bridge and then step away, I'm like $50. Let's go. I mean, because it's just because I don't work for free anymore because that's I can't, but it, like you said, it's about the time. So if it's like casting calls, callbacks, self tapes, sorting through tons and tons of headshots, if it's just, hey, who do you got that fits this breakdown, hand me that person, and if I trust you, I will give you my top 3 and say, here you go. Hi.
I greatly appreciate all the information. I have a cat who's on the way to the emergency vet, so I have to
I'm
leave
so
my
sorry.
computer, so I
I'm
have
so
to
sorry.
bow out. But I will come to the next one.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It was
for
nice
your
meeting
time.
you.
When is the next one?
May 16th. Well, the
I think
class
I
will
did
meet
put that
up.
on my phone.
May 16th is just the meetup.
Uh-huh.
And then May 29th, I believe, is the big one.
I will check Facebook.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for
Bye.
Bye.
Hope your cat's
yeah.
okay.
But that's a really good question. So, and just for the record, if you guys, I'll put my info up on there, but if you guys have a project and you need somebody, I have people in my book and I have them sorted by kind of team A, team B, team C. Team C will show up for food, because they just want to work. Team A is like, my day rate's 500, and that's just what it is. And then team B is like, it depends. It depends on what it is. So,
Team D.
Team D.
Last choice.
Please show up. Just not.
And we are also involved in this job creation in the upstate, so we want to provide you with talent.
Yeah.
So it's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Again, we're working on shoestring budgets, but I love the talent in this area and I want to put them in the projects here. So yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to us about casting.
Yeah, and it won't hurt our feelings, and we won't be offended. We'll just be honest with you and say this is feasible, or it's like, okay, you need an acrobat that speaks German. That's really hard. I don't know if I can have that in my book, but I might. I mean, I have, probably 1,000 people in my book right now. So if I can pull somebody out of there, check their availability real quick, make that connection. I'd love getting people work. So yeah,
Cool.
it's exciting.